Welcome into the official. We've got a very special show for you tonight, one that's been in the works for quite a while. We've done the analysis of the 2023 class, every which way. We've done position specific. We've done some sleepers already. We've done guys who are risers for us, guys who are falling for us, all throughout the cycle as we've been preparing for early signing day coming up. And then, National Signing Day will finally put an end to the 2023 chapter, really, as it pertains to recruiting. And so as we come to the end of the year here, we want to do kind of a fun show looking at dunks from these prospects on the hardwood. So these are all football prospects, guys that we like, but we're only focusing on their athletic ability and they're the best dunks. We're going to basically do a dunk contest here on the official. So if you are listening to this in podcast form, I strongly encourage you to go watch this on our YouTube channel. This probably won't be a very good podcast. We will release it, but really trying to direct you to the YouTube to watch all these dunks. And basically, we're going to just be commenting on those dunks. And you're going to want to see some of these really, really great feats of athleticism. So with that being said, this is the official. Good evening, gentlemen. This is going to be a fun one, I think. The DUNKFEST-ish episode of The Official. You guys excited to get into that?
Oh, of course.
Been in the makings for quite a while, but before we get started, I did want to share a little bit. I mean, obviously, the college football world completely rocked in the last week with the passing of Mike Leach unexpectedly and, kind of in shocking fashion. I think he meant something to everyone in some way or another from his personality, but really on the football field, what he did for the passing game. I mean, the air raid, and this seeps down all the way into what we do with recruiting, right? I mean, we look at guys going to an air raid system and we think about quarterbacks in a different way, for fantasy football in a different way. I mean, what he did for offense goes so far. Both, we've seen concepts go into the NFL, of course. We've seen these concepts matter for us and what we do in fantasy football. So, Mike Leach, rest in peace. We will always remember what he did. What do you guys, take from, obviously, I mean, maybe it was his personality, but I mean, I think even X's and O's, he changed how we think about the passing game.
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm generally more drawn to like players and stuff, but he's definitely one of these coaches over the years that has stood out to me with his personality. He always seemed like very unfiltered. He's just kind of said what was on his mind, and he didn't really care what people thought about him. And I definitely admire a person like that. But specifically about his coaching, he had some of those fun teams that I can remember, especially back when I was in college. Like this is like 2008, that Texas Tech team he had with like Graham Harrell, Michael Crabtree was insane, like Danny Amendola, all those guys. Like I still remember that Texas Tech versus Texas game when Texas was number one. It was like Colt McCoy and Crabtree scored at the very end. I still remember that game. I remember where I was. I was at the Union at UW Milwaukee's campus at the Gas House in like this pub watching the game. I still remember how fun that offense was. And then, same thing with Washington State with Gardner Minshew. I mean,
oh yeah,
just insane offenses, just so much fun. And he had a great personality, I thought.
Yeah, I a lot of that I agree with. It's just, such a fun guy, such a unique person. And then his impact on the game, college football, would look very differently without, his influence on what he did with the passing game. And that's something they'll always be remembered for. So,
oh yeah. Actually, I mean, yeah, you're talking about personality. I heard a clip today. Someone asked him, he was getting ready to coach a game against Arizona State, and they're like, "What do you think about this game?" And he said, "Well, first you got to consider the Sun Gods, or the Sun Devils, and what kind of powers they might have." And then starts going into like Cougars and what Cougars bring to the table, and just talking about the mascots. I mean, it was just only he could pull that off, and but yeah, so did want to address that. No real easy transition there, but obviously something all of us have been thinking about, and just wondering, where do we go from here? But his legacy will absolutely live on, already does, in countless offenses around the country, and that influence is just pretty much permanent mark on the game. You can't say that about that many coaches. So without further ado, I think they said Mike Leach would want them to play in the bowl game. I also think he'd want us to talk about players. He'd want us to highlight these guys who are really good at multiple sports, and I'm sure he could go on quite a diatribe on dunking a basketball and how cool that is. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to focus on, this is the DUNKFEST episode. We've talked about it and alluded to it all year long, really since the official started. We talk about, this guy such and such, and he's got dunks. And he, there's some sweet highlights of him dunking. David, you're the first one that I remember, at least, really bringing that up more often than not, about like, oh yeah, I saw this guy, he's got some sweet dunks. What is about this, as we go, and we're going to have a little contest and see who had the best dunk on film, but what about it? What does it say to you when you like the film on the football field, and then you see, some nasty weaving dunk in traffic, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, like basketball was my first love, honestly. Like that's what I played the most growing up, and so I love watching basketball. And as far as how it's incorporated into our scouting, it's a small factor, but it definitely, I feel like you get a good, it's sort of a litmus test for their athleticism, I think. Guys that can play above the rim, you can really see their coordination a lot of times, especially guys that are like, doing it off the dribble. It's not just like alley-oop stuff. And also, like, I feel like you get a better camera view of their movement in general. They don't have pads on and stuff, and usually the camera is closer to the court rather than like, completely zoomed out on some of this football footage we have. So I feel like you can kind of see their movement and explosion, and it's just easier for me, I feel like.
I do feel that in terms of seeing movement better and really kind of getting a good close up of how their body control is and things like that. Matt, how do you feel about this? Is it just fun? Does it matter to you at all when you're looking at a player and you see that he's good on the hardwood?
I would definitely say I take into consideration. I think it's a good way of seeing how functional, how fluid their athletic ability is. Because you could be somebody that runs very fast in a straight line, but not look very capable on a basketball court because of all the other movement skills needed there. So I definitely think as David said, the better angle, the better close-up angle, it can be very helpful in that sense of judging a player's abilities.
Yeah, I agree, and I've actually been a little bit surprised. We did, as we always like to do, right? We don't do anything halfway. We looked at, I think the final count was 74 dunks.
Even more than that. I had a bunch that I didn't even put on that list.
Yeah. So we actually ended up putting 74 in the drive that we shared.
Well over 100 we all looked at.
Okay. Yeah. So, between the three of us, so well over 100 different dunks. Probably not 100 players, maybe like a little less on the players because some had multiple. We're talking about like scouring as much as we could possibly find of skill position players, dunking a ball in a game, dunking a ball not in a game, to come up with what we wound up saying, hey, let's do top 15. And it actually ends up being top 16 because there was a few ties that we wanted to not leave some of these guys out. There are some big names on the list. Jelani Thurman is a top 3 tight end. We've got Jurian Dickey, who's he's the 2 overall, I think, in the composite wide receiver in the country. And Pierce Sprulin's a top 2, top 3 tight end. We also have some, a few lesser known guys. We've got a guy named Zion Fowler, who you may not have heard of. We've got Cordell Russell. I think for you, Matt, that justified a lot of what you've been saying. You've been, really driving the Cordell Russell, I think, hype train. And Cordell Russell, I don't think there's too much of a spoiler alert. He's got 4 dunks on this list. The next closest guy has 2. And they are all worthy. And in fact, they're all top 10. So we did 15 dunks. 4 of the top 10 are the same guy. He is
almost a third of the dunks are.
He is, and they're all worthy. I mean, I was like, I have to rate this thing, whatever is 8.59, and it got him in or whatever. So these were all rated on a 10-point scale. Obviously subjective. We didn't really come up with defined criteria. We just all were like, what does it make you feel? How do you want to rate it? But 1 to 10, I will say the number one guy had a few 10s. He was the only dunk that had 10s. So be on the lookout for that. You won't get to see it until the end of the show. But yeah, so most of the guys that made the top 15 were mid 8s, low to mid 8s, and then above from there. And we just took the average of our 3 independent individual assessment of the grade. And I'll say for me, and I'll just go round table real quick, and then we'll get into it. I did value in-game dunks a little bit more than, like a playground dunk or an empty gym dunk where someone was just doing it like a dunk contest. I know we're doing kind of a contest here, but just in terms of what we're looking for, athleticism, coordination, timing, body control, all that, I thought you do that in a game where pacing matters and timing matters. It kind of meant a little bit more to me. But I did go back and reassess some grades after you guys were like, we can't just discount someone who's on an empty hoop. So thanks for that, feedback. I think I probably discounted it too much. What did you guys look for real quick, and we'll get into it?
Yeah, so I think I had a little bit different criteria than you guys did. I care a lot about the theatrics of the dunk. So, I don't want to just see just a breakaway jam. I want to see a windmill. I want to see 360, 180. I want to see a little something extra on top of it.
So style points big for big.
Very big for me. I want to see the dunk contest of style dunks.
Yeah.
Big pizzazz guy over here.
That's fair. I definitely care about the style for sure. For me, it's like, I don't know, like for sure the explosion, like when I see it, like some guy just like leaps off the ground like so effortlessly, like just and being like graceful, I feel like, and some guys just have more hang time than other guys, and it's just, and obviously if you yam on somebody, like you're gonna get extra points for that too, because I just like the aggressiveness there, so that's kind of what I looked at.
Yeah, the posterization quotient is obviously pretty important there. I did look, another thing, just we kind of mentioned, I mean, that close-up factor that you get with some of these videos, like you can see the length. I mean, sometimes we talk about wide receivers or whatever, and it's like, he's so long, long arms, whatever. You can see some of these guys, they are just they just cover like the whole, floor to rim when they're jumping. And you're like, you can envision that then in some pads going up against some hapless DB and just crushing on the football field as well. So without further ado, I will take the first one. I really like this player. We talked about on our tight end show, Jelani Thurman. He's 6'5". I think he's about 230, big guy, tight end going to Ohio State. He is currently the tight end 2 in the 24/7 composite. So a pretty highly rated guy. And let's take a look at this dunk here with his tied for 15th. So coming in, not last place, we looked at plenty more, but for our purposes, this is the first guy we're going to look at, tied for 15th place. So that was a pretty nice dunk. He receives it almost down near the arc, takes a few steps, and there's a guy who kind of tries to come and block it, but he's no match, and he slams it home. I think it's a one-hander. So that was Jelani Thurman. Pretty nice dunk, but there's plenty more to come from there. So, Matt, you want to take the next guy? I think he's kind of an unknown as a football prospect, actually.
Yeah, that would be Zion Fowler, wide receiver from New Jersey. He's 6'1", and yeah, kind of a not a highly rated prospect. I don't think if he is, he's barely a top 100 wide receiver. 145 in the composite. And he's committed to Pittsburgh. Very high-end basketball player, huge dunks, and you can see it on his football tape as well. There he goes, takes it away. Very easy. You can see if I had to bet, he probably, in my opinion at least, has the highest vertical in this class from all the offensive players we've seen at least. He just has huge jumps, 40 inches minimum.
That was pretty nasty too. And like what David was saying, body control, stole the ball, got it in transition all the way to the hoop, one-handed jam, and it's 6'1", but yeah, he made that look super easy. So I have no problem believing he has one of the biggest ups in the class. David, let's go to, we have a three-way tie for 12th place, and it's a score of 8.33. So I'll tell you, why don't you just take Jurian Dickey? This is a really fun dunk that he put on tape here. Looks like it's like at a like a cafeteria or something, some kind of gathering of students. I don't even think it's on a full-blown basketball court, but take a look.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just.
I guess it's a gym of some kind, but it looks weird, like it's a room.
Yeah, it's almost like a little recess, a dunk there. But I just like that dunk. Well, first of all, so what is he? He's number 2 in the composite of wide receivers. He's like 210 pounds. I think he reports a 37-inch vertical. But like he goes off 2 feet there. He stops a lot of his momentum. And I mean, the girl that he jumped over looked like an adult size. I mean, she looked like she was 5'5". So he clears her and still has like the explosion and hang time to get to the rim. So I love that dunk.
It was very fun. Obviously, very much a dunk show, like a dunk contest style dunk, where he has a prop in there with a person holding a ball on top of their head. I docked a few points because he kind of she had to duck. It wasn't super clean, but he got the job done. And like you said, 210 pounds. Come on, that's pretty awesome at his size and weight to be able to do that. That's wild. Next, I will take Kendrick Bell. He's listed as an athlete. Well, I saw him as an athlete and as a quarterback. So he's kind of, who knows what he's going to do. I don't think we know for sure. But going to Michigan, 82nd ranked athlete in the country. He's 6'2", and we're about to see him here. So it's from the other backboard, basically, and it's not the greatest footage, but it looks like he just elevates like crazy and easily basically drops it in the net. I mean, he's not even hanging on. He just basically is up so high. He can kind of just push it down. I gave points personally for just like insane ups. I mean, he's 6'2", and his wrist basically hit the rim on that one as he just throws it down. So not a lot of theatrics, but just obviously 6'2", getting that high, tremendous athleticism. And then we have Joseph Walker. Matt, you want to tell us a little about this guy? He's committed to Western Michigan, but I don't know much else about him.
Yeah, he's a guy that I actually found recently. He's buried deep. What is he here? 207th composite wide receiver. I don't even think he was even added to 24/7 until recently. He plays out of Warren Central in Indiana, the same school that David Bell came from. So the biggest school, one of the bigger football schools in the state. He's put up a great season. He's 6'4", a very good basketball player, very fluid player. And as you can see in the video, he very good hop. It definitely translates on the football field. He's definitely a very good contested guy.
All right, let's take a look.
There he is here driving in. It was right over him. And yeah, 6'4", definitely getting up pretty high there.
And you can tell there the coordination. He takes basically, I don't know if it was a steal or something. He got the ball basically at half court. Yeah. And it was pretty coordinated dribble all the way down. I will say, looking through all these players, there's some guys where like they don't know what to do with the ball. Like you can tell they're not good dribblers. They don't have good handle. They may throw it down, but getting to the rim is a struggle. This guy, that was pretty clean all the way. And going to the MAC, keep an eye on him. I mean, MACtion, baby.
Western Michigan hasn't had it hit in a little bit. So
yeah, 6'4", 200 pounds. I mean, physically, he should be able to dominate anyone in the MAC. So that's definitely a name to keep an eye on, especially for your CFF leagues. Let's go to Luke Hasz, I think is how his name is pronounced. Luke Hasz, a tight end, going to Arkansas. And I'll say he was a pleasant surprise for me. I think he's a little bit, correct me if I'm wrong, we talked a lot about Lawson Lucky, the tight end
Lawson
going to
Lucky.
Georgia. Lawson
Oh, did I
Lucky.
mess it up? Oh man, I did.
I feel like this guy, to me, is a little bit of a discount brand, Lawson Lucky, who's obviously one of the better tight ends in the whole class, but has what really impressed me. I think he's got some interesting athletic ability. He, jet sweeps and some kind of H-back stuff that he'll do in addition to being a tight end. But David, take us through this dunk. He's 6'2", so he's not a massive one of these hulking tight ends. So it's pretty impressive how high he gets up.
Yeah, that's the impressive part about it. You can see it's pretty much about a 360.
Yeah.
That's the impressive part, I think. For a tight end, you think, oh yeah, he's 6'5", big deal, but he's 6'2", he doesn't have especially great length or anything, and he can, his vertical must be in the 30s, I would think, if he can do that, probably 35 or so. So yeah, that and very good coordination to be able to twirl your body like that and not lose track of the hoop and stuff. So very nice.
Yeah, he's like 6'2"-ish, and I think 230, 220, 230. So, he's one of these guys who's undersized tight end, but I think he could be a useful weapon, especially at a team like Arkansas. So kind of excited to see what he does. Now we're moving to my guy. I love this guy, Joshua Manning, wide receiver, committed to Missouri. He's from Missouri. He's a top 36th receiver in the country per 24/7. Like I said, it's like 6'3". He's right around 200 pounds. He's a big body, and he's got a couple of dunks that are pretty nice. This one made the cut here for us. And in 10th place, Joshua Manning with a score of 8.58. So you'll see here, he's kind of on a fast break, but he does a little razzle-dazzle here at the end for us. This was the reverse. So reverse dunk in game, and you can kind of see the length there. And he, that shows up on the football field as well. I'm pretty excited about him, pairing him with Luther Burden next year at Missouri. I think they could be special for the next 2 years, actually. Now we've got a tie for 8th place. The next two dunks got a score of 8.75 for us. And first, I'm going to give big wide receiver guy his flowers here for Cordell Russell. Take it away. Talk to me about Cordell Russell, and then I'll run the clip.
Yeah, so Cordell is 6'3", I believe 210 pounds approximately now, above 200 at least. Committed to TCU, long, prototypical outside receiver, very athletic guy, and he blew up this season. Had a huge year playing high-end Texas football. And yeah, he's a super exciting player, a top 10 wide receiver, in my opinion. And yeah, he's a very, very high-end dunker. I would argue probably the best dunker in this class based on what we found.
It's hard to argue. So let's take a look. This is first dunk of 4 that made the top 10.
Let's see. Oh yeah, just driving straight to the paint, no regard for any of the 3 people, just standing to the side, staring at him. And what are you gonna do there?
I agree, and that's a great way to describe it. Like, no regard for anyone in his way, and you'll see that on his other dunks. Like, he just, it's unbelievable. Really impressive stuff from Cordell Russell. Now, David, talk to us a little bit about Ricky Collins. He's dunk number 8 here. A quarterback, first quarterback on our list. Depending on what you think of Kendrick Bell, but this is like a full-blown quarterback here. What do you think about Ricky Collins? And tell us a little bit extra about this dunk. I think he had a comment in his Instagram. What another feature?
Yeah, so he's 6'2". He reports a 38-inch vertical, and he's going to LSU. I think he's one of the best running quarterbacks in the class.
All right, let's take a look.
So he gets a nice little breakaway steal there and just gets off the ground, and he hits his head on the backboard. I don't see a lot of guys doing that, especially like 6'2" guys. Like, that's pretty freaking crazy. And he rattled that rim too. Like, he was going in there with authority, which I love his aggressiveness. So I'm a big fan of that dunk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it was like a comment or the caption on the Instagram or whatever that said he hit his head on the dunk on the backboard. So we had to include that in there for that incredible ups. I'll take the next one. We're down to number 7, and this is Pierce Spurlin, who's a 6'6" tight end headed to Georgia, just adding to that insane Georgia tight end room. 8.83 is his score, and so let's take a look at what made that one special. So Spruilin is a tall guy, but still, I gave him extra marks here because of off the rebounds, and you can see it again here. I don't know if it was directly off the rim intentionally or if it was just a bad shot, but it's incredible. He comes out of nowhere, grabs it in midair, gets way above the rim, and then slams it home. So kind of coordination and timing, all that was impressive in traffic in the paint, showing a lot of body control there. But I don't know if it was intentionally like a, off the backboard to him, or if it was just a missed shot.
I think it was just a putback.
Yeah, but it was put back with authority from Pierce Spruilin. And so now I think to break it up here, we're gonna go. I guess the other guy tied for 5th is Aiden Green. So we're going to have to do Aiden Green is tied with another Cordell Russell. So to break it up, we'll go Aiden Green first. And Matt, tell us about Aiden Green here. He's 6'1", it looks like, headed to Bach Tech, but I don't know much about him as a prospect.
Yeah, I recently just got onto him. He was committed to Cincinnati for a long time. Like you said, 6'1", just committed to Virginia Tech the other week. And he's a really well-rounded player, but as you'll see, he has a very, very high vertical. He had a few dunks on his list. I'm surprised only one made it. He had a really nice windmill too. But in this dunk here, he just soars. Okay, here it is driving, then takes off, and that's probably one of the higher hang times we have in tonight's dunks. And he just stays in the air there, very high above the rim.
I mean, that's not quite free throw line.
Only 6'1".
Right. And he's coming from the side, so it's not directly free throw line, but it's only like one step inside the free throw line. I mean, it's back at the end of the paint there, and he just skies. I think that was one where when I watched it the first time, I was just like, oh, like I just literally audibly was like, oh my God. So Aiden Green, pretty impressive guy. I think David was saying we might be sleeping on him a little bit, so maybe he's due for a bump in our ratings. I've not looked at his actual wide receiver film yet, I have to say. So now we're gonna have back to back Cordell Russell. He occupies tied for 5th. Then he'll be 4th and 3rd place as well. So we're gonna get a lot of Cordell Russell here. I'll take this one tied for 5th place. David, you can do the 1 and 4th, and we'll round it back out. And big wide receiver guy can give his goodbyes when we get to the 3rd place dunk. But Cordell Russell tied for 5th place here with a score of 8.92. Oh, no defense on this one. It's a fast break, but full-blown windmill. The length on this guy is unbelievable. I think you've said before, Matt, we're thinking he might have 6'8" or 10.
I think he's verified 6'8" wingspan.
Yeah. So showing every bit of that right there. David, take us through the 1 and 4th place with a score of 9.0. So now we're in the 9.0.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite of his because it only takes him a few steps from half court to get to the basket, and you can just see how springy he is here and just how much length. And I mean, moving like that at 210 pounds for a high schooler is just absurd, really.
It's hard to tell on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's a cradle dunk too.
Right? Yeah, and like you said with all of them. I mean, every single time the rim is just begging for mercy. He just assaults that rim, and it just doesn't even look hard. I mean, he's so long with those arms. All right, so in hindsight, I don't know if that one or the windmill, I don't know. One just fell slightly below, but they're both really impressive. Now we've got his 1 in 3rd place with a score of 9.25. I believe, 9.25. Matt, walk us through this last one for Cordell Russell.
Yeah, let's see here. I don't remember this one off the top of my head. Oh, okay, yeah. That's very easy for him. Just miss shot, just jumped straight from a couple steps over the foul line, and easy head almost hits the rim. It looks like, and
They're
just
all
insane.
in some ways they're all similar, where he just takes like these giant bounding steps, and it only takes him like 2 steps from beyond the arc to get up to the rim. And that one was off a rebound, and he just comes out of nowhere up the middle and just like rams it home.
I
Doesn't
love
care.
his celebrations too, like how aggressive he is afterwards and just how much energy he plays with. Like this guy, I feel like he has an alpha personality, which I like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just so excited for him now. I'm gonna have to bump him up my ratings. I think
I'm getting
just
everybody onto him.
I know everyone's excited about Cordell Russell. I remember it's interesting how these things evolve. I remember when he first committed, we talked about him at the end of a show briefly for about 1 or 2 minutes and said, he's probably an X guy for TCU, whatever. And now we're all just loving it. So that's how things can evolve.
He had a big blow up between junior and his
That
senior.
is true. His junior tape's not quite as impressive. He probably, when you've got that body shape and size, you probably take a minute to grow into it and feel, coordinated and comfortable. All right. I'm going to run this next one. A guy I've really liked since last March or even before last March, but then I saw him in May at the Elite 11 in person. Really impressive. Avery Johnson, who's a quarterback. So a quarterback got the number 2. And when we first saw this, we kind of all were like, I'm not sure who could possibly beat it. There is a guy who beat this dunk from Avery Johnson. But let's take a look here. I think this is even from sophomore year or something. So, he was fairly young and still just posterizing this guy in game. So a 9.33 score. You can see he gets the rebound, takes it all the way down the court, centers in the middle, and he just doesn't care. I mean, that guy's probably 6'5". Avery Johnson's about 6'2". And he just absolutely posterizes him. The definition, I mean, he's trying to get a block in the lane, and Avery Johnson literally skies over him for the dunk. Just incredible. All his basketball highlights are amazing. His football highlights are amazing. Like, he's an incredible athlete. I hope he gets it together. Just, quarterbacking requires more than just athletic ability, of course, but really be rooting for Avery Johnson. I have to say, I'm a little shocked he didn't get number 1, but we have another guy. Full circle. So I think he was tied for 15th, and now we're back with the number 1 dunk. And Matt, I'll let you introduce it because you brought it to our attention, I believe, and dropped it in the chat. Zion Fowler, number 1.
Yeah, so when we talk about dunk contest level dunks, this is, to me, the clear one to me, just because of the theatrics around it, the level of difficulty around the dunk. Not many other players in this class, are physically capable of doing what he's going to do here. It could be questioned whether it's a 10-foot rim. He says it's a 10-foot rim. I don't think he has any reason to lie, and he's proven to have a huge vertical. So I
That's
think
true. That taken with the other one we saw in a game where he clearly skied.
Yeah, he
does makes this more believable. It's 10 foot. So let's take a look. Zion Fowler, number 1.
So we got driveway basketball here in the suburbs of New Jersey, and a nice 360 between the legs. There's a second one just for good measure.
But, you know what? I don't think I realized it was 2 different dunks.
Yeah,
but
it's 2 different.
The one
why
that
don't you
made
roll?
number 1, I'll pull it again. The one that made number 1 was through the legs and
through the legs 360.
Yeah, through the legs 360. So let's watch it again. It's the first dunk here.
Yeah, so here we are. This one, through the legs 360. That's actually that's something you'd see in an actual NBA dunk contest.
And it would probably get 10s in an NBA dunk contest.
Yeah, there's actually a video of Paul George doing this exact dunk in a dunk contest.
And he's 6'1". I mean, remember that too. Sometimes the shorter guys actually can do some more, theatrical dunks because
that's why it's so hard to believe. He's 6'1" and he just pulled that off. It's like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And maybe the driveway was on a slight incline. I mean, you never know, but it was still really impressive. I mean, well, I will give give all the flowers there to Zion Fowler. I actually want to watch his wide receiver tape a little bit. I haven't really looked at him. We've said he is fairly lowly ranked. He's a 3-star. I don't think he's committed. He's the only guy on this list who's not committed. Say that again?
Committed to Pitt.
Oh, committed to Pitt. Okay.
He decommitted, I think. So.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Never mind then. Not committed.
He's on the market.
Yeah. Anyone who's watching this, if you know a recruiter, go tell them about Zion Fowler. But that's it for our show. We went a little over, but I think it was worth it. This was very fun for us to put together. A lot of work went into this one. We planned it out weeks in advance. We said this is what we want to do. Obviously, we don't normally sift through basketball footage in the way that we did for this, but very fun. And I hope it was illuminating to everyone watching as it was to us. Like, these guys are phenomenal athletes. And you can see it even better on some of these clips. So, man, David, thank you so much. And we will be back for early signing day next week. We're going to be breaking down all the surprise commitments, maybe guys who didn't sign and what that might mean. Really coverage after early signing day next week. So stick with us. This has been Campus to Canton. This has been The Official.